Welcome to That Don't Sound Right. That Don't Sound Right is a podcast about talking the way we did before the internet, when you couldn't prove anyone right or wrong.
All the expertise was contained in the people involved with the conversation. I'm Peter.
And I'm Cecil. And we hope you enjoy our conversations. And as you listen, if you find yourself silently saying, "That don't sound right," leave us a comment. You're one of us. Enjoy the show. Hey, Ella.
Hey, Dad.
We got a new mixing board for the podcast.
Yeah, it's pretty high tech. It thinks everything I say is funny. Have you followed the podcast Instagram at tdsrpodcast?
I have not followed that yet. But I'll go do that right now. Hope you enjoy the show. Hey, welcome to That Don't Sound Right. I'm Cecil.
And I'm Peter.
So we got some pretty exciting news for you this week.
Man, I can't believe this is happening.
So we've thanks to y'all that are listening, we've broken 500 downloads.
That's pretty amazing.
That is pretty amazing.
500.
500 downloads.
That doesn't seem like a lot when you in the big scheme of thing, but when you look at our setup, 500 is a lot.
500 is a lot. And I'm not sure if the data from the Apple podcast is feeding back to the Podbean, and if that's the case,
well, then
we are above 600 downloads.
Yeah, we got a lot more than we think.
Yeah. So thank y'all for taking a few minutes of your day to do that.
Yeah, I really appreciate it. I mean, you listening to it in your earphones or on your car, on their drive to work, or you could do what I do, make my kids listen to it on the drive. But we really appreciate inviting us into your space.
And so we got another announcement. We've got a email now, which is tdsrpodcast@gmail.com. That's That Don't Sound Right podcast, tdsrpodcast@gmail.com. So if you have a topic, like if you have a surprise topic you want Peter and I to talk about, or a comment.
Oh yeah, you might need to correct us because you might need to send the email that says that don't sound right based on what we said.
Exactly. So that you can reach us through that email. We have merchandise available now. We have mugs, a couple different styles of mugs, T-shirts. We'll leave the links to that again in the show notes and on the website. And as most of you know, we're now on Apple, which has really helped people find us. If you listen to us on Apple, if you'll leave a review, even if it's just clicking the stars, that helps people find us. And soon we hope to be on Spotify and Google.
Our footprint is spreading.
It is spreading. And as I think we told you in the New Year's show, there may be an Instagram account.
Yes.
Possibly.
Yeah, you're going to see us see some action shots.
Right. Like a shot of the studio.
And maybe you'll want to unsee that, but it'll be there for you.
And we actually discussed today about upgrading our equipment. So
right. I've always dreamt of us sitting at a table across from each other instead of huddled in a corner over a microphone.
over this one mic. So, yeah, we may actually go to a two mic with a mixer.
Man. Well, yeah, and also leave a comment if we need to work on the sound. I know for myself, when I listen to podcasts, I often listen to them in cars. And some podcasts are difficult to listen into the car. And so my goal for our podcast is the sound quality is such that you can listen in your car as you're driving. Because most of us only have a 15, 30-minute commute, and that's all we're going to take.
Right. Yeah. That's what we hope. Yeah, at least initially we hope to keep these podcasts to the current
7 to 10 minutes.
7 to 10 minute range. So you're like, about 7 minutes, if you're like getting bored, it's going to be over in another 2 minutes anyway.
That's right.
So you've got something for today.
Well, yeah. So pretty wild weather we had last weekend.
Yes.
It seemed like the weather forecast changed from lots of snow to lots of ice to some rain to back to snow, back to ice. Who knows what happened last weekend?
Right. Right.
But a couple days before, I took my daughter snow skiing.
Really? Where'd you go?
We went to Appalachian Ski Mountain.
It's nice. They're nice spots.
I highly recommend it, especially if you can get it on a weekday. Yeah. Her exam schedule gave her the day off, so we just took the day and went up there. and made reservations, bought the tickets. And I tell you, on a weekday up there's nobody there. I think the lift line was 5 people deep at its most busy time.
I think they're family owned.
Yeah, they are. Yeah. In fact, there's a bridge along 321 that's named after the family.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And then the children are running it now, or helping to run it.
I'll have to tell you our story up there sometime. It's really nice. It was an awesome experience. Anyways.
But I grew up, I hadn't skied in 20 years, and it came back.
Oh, really?
It does come back.
Oh, wow.
At least skiing does. I don't know about other stuff, but at least skiing came back to me. I had to take it really easy. I was really worried about twisting my leg or breaking my face, but started on the easy slopes and worked my way up, and it came back.
Well, plus at our age, an injury can be a little more debilitating.
Well, I broke my leg playing softball. I haven't played softball since.
Oh, really?
And so I'm very, very careful about stuff now because, like you said, it's a career-ending injury right now.
You never ski again.
My deep skiing career, I got to protect. But I grew up skiing. I grew up in Maryland. We would go up skiing. And we would ski up in Pennsylvania because it was only about an hour drive. It's kind of like from here to Boone, maybe hour and a half. But the temperatures up there are much colder, right? Much colder.
Yeah.
And they got to make snow, just like Appalachian. There's these huge snow-making machines.
Yeah.
Fascinating machines.
Yes, they are.
So the question is, so we had this topic came up, me and my middle school and high school friends and our brains. We noticed that sometimes, at least it seemed, they were making snow when the temperature was above freezing.
Yes.
And so
I think I know where you're going with this.
So the question is, how do you do that? And so we were running through our minds, and we came to the conclusion is that they added some kind of chemical to the water to raise the freezing point. Instead of lowering the freezing point, when you add salt to the roads, you're lowering the freezing point so it stays liquid. That's right.
Can you raise it?
Our conclusion was they added a chemical to raise the freezing point so they could make snow when it was warm.
This is the second chemistry question we've had. The first one being ozone.
That's right.
And I, with the more chemistry between the two of us, got that one completely wrong.
Well,
and so you posed a second chemistry question.
I think that's what they're doing.
Okay.
But when I really think about it, I come to the phrase, that don't sound right. Because what in the world are they doing? I mean, what kind of chemical could you add to the water to raise the freezing point that A, isn't toxic to the environment or toxic to people?
So this was high school when y'all came up with this?
Yeah. This is riding up the ski lifts in the middle of the day, and they were making snow. And we just didn't think it was above freezing. I mean, we didn't think it was below freezing. We thought it was above freezing.
So you hadn't had all your college experience by this point?
Yes,
Nor
right.
I.
That's right.
So now we're now approaching this as college-educated
That's right.
adults.
With lots of experience, lots of worldly experience. And I just don't think that worked.
I do remember from history as you add things to a solution, typically you lower
That's right.
the freezing point.
Right.
But I do know from in North Carolina, just from experiencing North Carolina over the course of my life, I have noticed that it seems like we get better snows when the temperature is at about 33 degrees.
33?
Like, I'm talking about the reported temperature, the one you see on the TV.
Okay, all right.
All right, so they're saying it's about 33 degrees and it's snowing.
Right.
But I've seen it rain at lower temperatures. Mm-hmm. And so I think it has something to do more with, my guess, and this is just my guess, it has something to do with the level where the freezing is occurring.
All right.
So in nature it'd be the atmosphere.
I buy that.
I think it's inside the machine that when that mist is coming out, I think at what point they begin to cool that mist is the key.
Yeah, you might be onto something because I have heard that when a precipitation event comes in, because of evaporation, it will lower the temperature.
Yes.
Right?
Right.
So could it be that when they're spraying this snow mixture out into the atmosphere, even though it might be 32, 33, 34 measure temp,
Right.
the fact that it's evaporating because the area is pretty dry,
Yes.
it's lowering the temperature right in that area enough to freeze it, and it falls, and then you get
That's what I think it is.
ice.
Yes.
That's why
Right.
man-made snow isn't typally as good as
Right,
the
right.
natural stuff, right?
Yeah. Because there, I mean, you're dealing with if you think about it, you're dealing with a longer drop rate. So if that mist is falling through the atmosphere,
Yeah.
and it's got to crystallize at a certain point in the drop.
Right. It's got to freeze.
Yeah, and so I think where that happens is important.
Does water release energy when it freezes? I don't think it does. I think it absorbs energy, right?
Yeah, I wouldn't think it would release it. But I do think you're on. I think that's it. I think it's.
But it's not a chemical.
I don't think it's a chemical. I think it's either has to do with evaporation, like you're saying, or the point as it's leaving the machine. Because I don't think it's the ambient air that's freezing it.
What do you think it is?
I think it's probably something to do with the machine.
You think the machine's causing the temperature drop and causing it to freeze?
I think the machine. I think it has something to do with the machine.
Okay. Well, I don't know about that. That don't sound
That
right.
don't sound right.
But I believe
But
it's got to be something to do with evaporation.
Right.
That they're controlling. They know that certainly you can't do it at 40. But
Right.
there must be a sweet spot where you can still do it above freezing and it
Yes.
still works.
Yeah, and the ground temperature I think would be important because once you produce it, you don't want it to melt. So you've already got a snowpack.
Well, that's going to freeze on the snow. The snow's
So,
already
you got the
32
snowpack.
degrees.
So your ground is cold. You're not. There's something there with the nozzle between the I think it's mechanical.
Well,
I think
maybe our
it's-
friends at Appalachian Ski Mountain
That's
will listen to
We'll
this.
listen to this.
And they could give us, or anyone who has experience in snowmaking.
Man, I've got to go look this up before the next episode now.
Well, maybe we should do that.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, you have now listened to another episode of That Don't Sound Right.
Yeah, stay safe in the. It's finally gotten cold around here, so
Yeah.
at least here in the Piedmont of North Carolina, stay safe wherever you are in all this cold weather.
We need to come up with a tagline like they do,
At the end,
at the end. We'll have to develop that. So
That's right.
But for now, thank you for listening.
Yeah, thanks.